Hello and you're very welcome to the JMac podcast. I'm Cavan. Of course, the podcast is brought to you by orgaretch.com and Atak.ie. Use the promo code JMac podcast to get 15% off on orgaretch.com and get the best skins, gloves, equipment on Atak.ie. Be attack-minded. And this evening I'm joined by former Callaghan and Cavan coach Marty Curry to talk about Cavan season. Just got in. Marty's coach plans in the future and all a bit of crack, all a bit of banter for the next while. Marty, how are you keeping?
Not too bad. Thanks, John, for having me. Thanks very much.
No worries at all, my man. No worries at all. You enjoying the bit of sun?
I'm enjoying it, yeah. A bit too much, maybe. A lot of ice cream, maybe, taking in all these hot days. But yeah, I'm definitely enjoying the good weather. Sure, who wouldn't? It's great.
Happy days. I think my sunburn's got sunburn, so I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. How is life with man? Obviously, Cavan's season ended a couple of weeks ago in the Tottenham Cup final against Westmeath, and recently you've stepped aside from the Cavan setup. So how's things been since?
Listen, yeah, it's been quiet, to be honest with you. It's funny, you're going from a very busy schedule, a lot of calls, a lot of planning with management and players, to absolutely nothing, and it's sort of strange. You're going full tilt for a number of weeks, number of months, and it all comes to a stop. So it's just getting used to that and getting back onto your normal life, what you should be, spending time with family or doing bits and pieces, whatever it is. I suppose that's what I'm at now, I suppose.
Good stuff. Getting back to a bit of normality, I suppose, as the man says. And I suppose what was the verdict on, Cavan season? I suppose we can touch on the Tottenham final. I mean, you were talking about it off air against Westmeath. It was just came up short against obviously a very talented Westmeath team. But what was your take on the final?
Yeah, listen, I think from a Westmeath perspective, they'd be quite happy with how they performed. I think Westmeath brought a serious energy. They were hungry. They showed it in the final. It's probably the best time to perform. If you're going to have a performance, best to have it in the final. I think from a Cavan perspective, I think we didn't overly perform that well, but at the same time, we still could have snatched the game. Probably disappointed in a number of areas of our game, I'm sure. But listen, we tried our best. It just wasn't our day. We had a great year from the point of view as we put in a lot of good performances in games, and unfortunately the performance we wanted in the final just wasn't there, and we were beat by a very good Westmeath team.
Definitely. I suppose, what was the kind of thoughts on maybe the Tottenham Cup as a whole? Obviously, like the first year coming into fruition, and obviously given the I suppose, so-called weaker teams a chance of silverware. But what was your thoughts on the Tottenham Cup as a whole?
I think the Tottenham Cup was good. I think there was a lot of I suppose negative vibes coming at the start, and I suppose it's warranted enough. Nobody wants to be in it, when you're playing in the Ulster Championship, like the likes of Cavan there. We got beat by Donegal by 2 goals, and I suppose we played quite well that day and would have loved another crack at the championship, but we are where we are, and we decided to embrace the Tottenham Cup, and we went for it regardless of what was been said in the media or any other county, what way they were looking at it. And we got our head down and we got to work, and I think we embraced it quite well, and we enjoyed the Tottenham Cup. I think there was a good buzz about it. I think it was promoted quite well, to be fair, for its first year. I'm sure it'll get better as the years goes on, but overall I think it was a very positive step for counties who struggle maybe to get silverware, and it gives them an opportunity maybe to grasp a silverware that's very reachable for themselves.
Yeah, looking like that so far, and definitely the year that it was. I suppose, referring back to the final itself, Marty, where did you feel maybe Cavan kind of came up short to a degree? I know obviously the Westmeath kind of forwards definitely kind of did have great days at the office, but where did you feel we came up short in the day?
Yeah, it's a funny one that, I don't think there's one specific answer for it. I think we probably just lacked a wee bit of energy. I think going into the game, our training, our planning and everything was quite good. It was really, really good. We were very happy that we were going to be at a pitch. Our training sessions were quite consistently good, and I suppose we went into the final not overly confident, just confident knowing that we had the work done and that we were ready for a good battle. And I think one team turned up and we didn't. Cavan didn't turn up. We just didn't really get into the game. We didn't get with the pace of the game. We did at the start possibly, but then just things started to whittle away, and we just didn't really hit them highs that we could do. We couldn't reach that I suppose that the performance that we were after, we knew we were capable of doing, and I suppose Westmeath did. But in saying that, we weren't beat out the gate either. You know, we didn't play well, and albeit we could have got hammered, but we didn't. We still, in Cavan style, we still gritted on. We still found a way to keep ourselves in the game, and you know, a few decisions and maybe the sending off and maybe fortuitous goal for both sides. You know, listen, I suppose we could have been having a different conversation. It could have been a great year. We could have won the Tottenham Cup not playing well, but listen, it didn't play. We didn't play well in that final, and I think for me, we just didn't seem to have the energy on the day, whatever it was.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose the game itself, obviously, it did ebb and flow. And obviously, as you were rightly saying, you know, fortuitous goals. And I know, obviously, Thomas Callaghan, you know, set it off, probably had a big bearing on the game. So, like, do you feel maybe it was just maybe composure up top, maybe just, I don't know, game smarts? What would you maybe boil it down to?
It's hard to know, because I think we show good game smarts throughout the year. I think we've played well. I think the performance really surprised us, to be honest. Even after the game, I was surprised that, you know, our performance and what we brought, because we would hold the players as a management quite highly. We know they're well capable of big performances, no matter who the team is. And listen, obviously the players, themselves will be disappointed with the performance, but Cavan will look at this collectively and they'll learn from it, and they will come back again. Like, there's serious potential in Cavan, and I think they will be back stronger, you know, than this year. I really do. I think next year they'll be just as strong as this year.
Yeah. Look, the future is definitely bright. And I suppose, kind of coming away from the game, maybe what was I suppose, outgoing emotions from it? Like, do you feel that, you know, we definitely could have won it? Do you feel, you know, Westmeath were just that bit cuter, or like, do you feel like the stuff you were maybe working on the weeks leading into it, maybe just them wee bits and pieces came up that bit short?
Yeah, well, it just goes back to my point I made. I just think the energy. I just think we lacked that energy. Like I would have felt that we had a game plan going into the game. We didn't want to go pressed or kickouts. It just didn't work for us, and whatever that way that happened, we just couldn't put our finger on it. But I suppose after the game, we were gutted for the players. Like, you know, we really were, as a management team. Like, you know, it's not easy. Like, the boys are better than that, as I said before. They really, really are. And I suppose you first of all, you do sympathise with the players, because they go home and they have to listen to it possibly, and people maybe saying a few comments to them, negative comments, but they know in their hearts they're better than that. And as I said before in the last question, I know that them players will be back, and I know the next game they play, whether it's with their club or their county, they will put in a performance, because that's what Cavan does. They always come back.
Yeah, definitely, Marty. I suppose the year itself, 2022, obviously we played in Division 4, and then obviously the Ulster Championship against Donegal, and the Tottenham Cup that led after that. So what was maybe your thoughts on the whole year itself? Obviously, you know, I suppose the Division 4 campaign, and obviously a few nice trips away in amongst that.
Yeah, we got to go to London there. It was, I'm not going to say it was good crack, because I suppose it was just business. You go over, you play the game. It was very, very busy.
Yeah.
It's like you get on the plane, off the plane, you eat, you have a meeting. Next thing, you're in bed. You're up the next day in London. You're on a plane. You're home. So
yeah,
I suppose, yeah, we got it. It was a good team bonding exercise, even though there was nothing done, only to play a game. It was a brilliant weekend for the lads. Like, there was good crack. And but yeah, looking at the year overall, I think it was what it was. Like, you know, we were playing Division 4. We were probably favourites going into Division 4, and rightly so. It probably didn't perform in all our games, but we still, probably, you have to understand that when you're going into these games, you're the hunted team. Everybody's going to, you know, up their performance playing you, because they know they are the best team in it. And I suppose that's what it was. It was just about getting results, grinding results, and that's what we done. We just grinded results, and obviously we got into the final and played a very good Tipperary team who had already beaten us in Breffni about a month or so before that. And, you know, listen, again, we didn't play overly well. We grinded a result, and I suppose it's probably the sign of a good team to do that. And I think then performances then led into our championship. We obviously had Antrim, but I suppose in the lead up to Antrim, we had a very good, I suppose, camps, and trainings were going well, challenge games were going well. There was a lot of positivity from them performances of the league, and we just followed them through, and we put in a really good performance against an Antrim team who everybody was fancying, who a lot of people thought that Cavan players weren't going to win, and you know, we were able to, I suppose, bottle that emotion and go out in the day and put in a performance, which we did.
Yeah, which was kind of crazy for the Antrim game, because like I know Antrim obviously did have a pretty good league campaign, but realistically, when you put the two teams on paper, you know, I think Cavan definitely would have came out on top. I was obviously very confident going into that game, Marty. So could you, like, I know you're kind of away from it now, but like, could you really understand the hype behind Antrim that time?
I couldn't know. Like I suppose, like, I was looking at it from the perspective like yes, they were playing Division 3, and in fairness to Antrim, they did have a good league campaign. Like I think they won 4 or 5 in a row or something like that, and then they just missed out on promotion possibly. But I suppose, like, we were going well too, and we were quite confident on how we were performing in games and challenge games and trainings, and we knew since Mickey's come on board in the last 4 years, we are a championship team. We know that. So we knew that we were going to bring a championship edge no matter what. We knew we were going to bring a performance, and we knew we were going to be hard to beat. So I suppose everybody was looking at Antrim going, right, Enda McGinley's doing a good job, and they probably expected that this was the next step to win that championship game, to beat a Cavan team, a strong Cavan team, might I say, and push on and try to advance the progressions. But I suppose we talked about it. We didn't let it get to us. We were just all about the business, all about the performance, all about getting our own game right. We did a lot of hard work in Antrim. We really analysed them and really made sure that we left no stone unturned. And that's all we done. We just made sure that we went about our business quite well. But yeah, to be honest, like, we couldn't understand where the hype was coming from. I didn't think it was as a total Antrim dominant performance. I didn't think that was coming. I thought that, you know, it should have been 50-50 game, if anything. But listen, we dealt with it quite well, and we went out and put in a performance in Corrigan Park, and we got the job done.
Yeah, I suppose your kind of thoughts on the kind of league campaign as a whole. Obviously, you know, as you were rightly saying, you are the hunted in that Division 4. So I suppose the mentality towards all the games, you have to be utterly professional, and obviously going in as favourites, going up to London, going over to London only beating London by points. So it just goes to show, Marty, you really couldn't take your foot off the pedal throughout that division.
Yeah, well, I do know, like when you look back at all over the years at Division 4 and the teams that come out, there's very seldom you'll see, you know, the team that goes up or the two teams go up that they've absolutely hammered everybody in every game. It doesn't work like that. You know, every game brings its own pressures, brings its own dynamic, and you know, it could bring injuries, it could be bad weather, it could be poor refereeing decisions. There's many factors that phase into a game and can change the dynamic of a game. And I suppose it's about being able to identifying what's happening and be able to coming up with the scenario to deal with it. And I suppose that's the way we would look at Division 4, that we knew we weren't going to hammer teams. We knew there was games that's going to be a dogfight. And I think there's nothing wrong with having games that's a dogfight, because it prepares you for games that you are going to be in down the line where there is a dogfight. You know you can come out of it. And albeit it might be a lesser standard to a certain degree, but it's still preparing you for a dogfight. But listen, it was what it was. I think we said at the start of the year that we wanted to win games and we wanted to get promotion, and that was it. And nobody remembered that you won by a point. Nobody remember if you won by 10. Winning's winning, whether you win by a point or a 10, doesn't matter. Winning is winning, and we got a promotion, and that was it. We're up, and Cavan will play their football in Division 3 next year, and hopefully they'll take the same approach.
The Division 4 final, obviously against Tipperary and Croke Park, was nice to go up to HQ, Marty. Obviously, a few up and down kind of moments. Obviously, Cavan did get over the line. The Croke Park experience for the league final itself, Marty.
Yeah, listen, I suppose we were lucky enough that we've already played in Croke Park a couple of years ago against Dublin. Now, albeit it was an empty Croke Park, but it was still a lot of experience of going up on the road, up to Croke Park on the bus and different things, and you know, the whole dynamic of the day. And yeah, listen, I suppose that league final probably helped us in a way for our future games that we're going to play against Sligo, obviously in Croke Park, and obviously against Westmeath. But yeah, listen, it was a good experience. It was great to see so many Cavan people there enjoying it. I suppose when you look back in 2020, Cavan winning the Ulster, you know, there was no crowd in the stand. you know, you never got to feel what it was really like to win an Ulster title, you know, with the crowd. And I suppose you were somewhat there. You got that feeling when I suppose Cavan played in the league final. You could hear the crowd. It was great. There was energy. So yeah, it was pretty positive and pretty great for the players also too.
Definitely. And obviously, moving on to the championship, it was against Antrim up in Callaghan Park, and obviously the talk going into it, like Callaghan Park or nowhere, and then the venue. And I suppose obviously as a Cavan management team, you can just focus on getting the result, and you know who cares ordinarily where the game was played. Cavan got out on top. You know, probably as expected, Marty. But the hype and buzz going into that game, you just got the job done as you said earlier on.
Yeah, it was probably again we were disappointed with that in relation to Corrigan Park. Like at no stage did the Cavan management team say they wouldn't play the game in Corrigan Park. I think the game was right to be played in Corrigan Park. It should have been played in Antrim, regardless of what the amount of spectators that was going to be there. And I was glad that it was played in Corrigan Park for Antrim, and obviously for ourselves, it was great. And the pitch was brilliant, brilliant pitch. So we had no objections to playing in Corrigan Park. But I suppose that built into our performance. We knew that there was going to be a lot of talk. There was going to be a lot of talk about Corrigan Park. There was going to be a lot of talk about, you know, Antrim being slightly favourites. This Cavan team, there's questions over them. But we just didn't worry too much about it. We just really got down to the nitty-gritty of our performance and made sure it was right. And we knew that if we brought the performance, we'd get the W. And we didn't really talk about winning or anything like that. We just talked about the performance. And I suppose the first 10 or 15 minutes, the game could have been over. We missed so many chances, albeit we were playing against a strong wind. We just missed so many shots and probably kept Antrim in the game to a point. But I suppose we got our groove. We got the scoreboard ticking over, and we were lucky enough. We kept going, and we had a good bench. Boys come off the bench. We got scores off them, and we were blessed to be able to get away. I think we scored a lot of scores that day. I don't know what it was, 119, 120. Can't remember, but you know, it was a great performance by us.
Yeah, and then obviously moving on to the game of Clonus against Donegal, it was just a really good game of football, just coming up short. But that Donegal team, in fairness, I think there's a bit of transition going on. And obviously, they're still on the lookout for a new manager. Like Rory Cavan is being heavily linked to it. But I suppose the thoughts in that game, Marty, like I think as who's the Oshie McConville said, the Cavan lads look like they're coached when it injured their life, and I suppose you have a bit to thank for that.
Listen, we love the championship. Like, you know, there's one thing about Cavan, we love championship. And when I went in, it's Mickey and Dermot, you know, they wanted to make sure that our championship pedigree was upped. And that was the main objective, because I suppose Cavan has done quite well in the leagues over the years. And again, we were trying to get the balance right with everything, but the championship was where it was at, and it was what we wanted to win. It's where we wanted to be. We wanted an Anglo-Celt title. That's what the Cavan management wanted. That's what the players wanted. And that's what the Cavan people wanted. So I suppose, looking at the Donegal game, we were very blessed. And I know, like, people talk about the players and the management team, but we have a serious backroom team there. And it's not just the Martin Coreys, the Ryan McManamans, or the Shawnee Johnsons, or the John Dennings, or the Mickey Grahams. It's not us. We have a serious analysis team there led by Brian McDonnell. And, you know, it would be wrong for us to stand up and say, yeah, we were responsible for all that. Them boys work day and night to get us information that we need to help us make informed decisions.
Yeah.
And them informed decisions then will play out in the game. And like our performance, I suppose, tactically was definitely down to them men, the work that they done to get us to there, especially Brian, Phelan and Pather and the guys, like they did, and Kieran, they did a lot of work for us, and we were blessed for that. And I suppose another thing that goes on said would be our physios. You know, they put in a savage amount of work to get our players ready for that game. And we wouldn't have performed the way we wanted to perform if we didn't have the players that we had available on the day. And I suppose, albeit all that coming together, I suppose we were able to get a performance out of the players. And without them two things, we wouldn't have. So looking back in the game, I would say I really enjoyed the game. Like, we were at the pitch, we were where we needed to be. We definitely felt that we were at halftime. We were there. It was coming. We could get this performance if we keep going, and we could get a W here. We could get a win. And listen, 2 fortuitous goals for Donegal. We didn't deal with them, and 2 poor goals, I suppose, to give away. And I suppose that was the difference in the end. It really was. And I suppose it was a funny feeling after the game. Really disappointed that we didn't get to the Ulster final, because we really, really wanted to win that game. We really wanted to get to that Ulster final. But in saying that, there was a lot of positives to take, and the performance was there. And all you can do is put in the performance. And if it's enough at the end of the day, it is. And if not, well, then so be it. But we were happy with our performance, but not happy that we didn't win the game, obviously.
I suppose obviously kind of coming away from the game, it just does go to show, I suppose when you're going in as not underdogs, it really does kind of suit Cavan, and it kind of does suit getting up to them levels, the high standards that Donegal have kind of set the last couple of years. Warm summer's day in Clonus, a lot of people are saying, oh, sure, Donegal by a good couple of points or at their ease. Look, it didn't show up like that.
Yeah. Well, I suppose Donegal were probably in the same boat that we were in Division 4. Donegal were hot favourites going into that game. We were hot favourites going into all the games in the Division 4. And for them, maybe they didn't perform, but maybe they weren't let perform for a number of periods of time, just like the way with Cavan in Division 4 in the league, we weren't let perform. And that's positive on the opposition. And I suppose they grinded that result out, Donegal, and they got themselves into a final. That's all they needed to do. Semi-finals, I suppose, aren't for flashy performances. They're just about winning and getting into the final. And although we brought the performance, we just didn't have enough to get over the line. But I suppose Donegal did. They brought boys off the bench and they got a goal. And I suppose that was the difference, as I said, in the end of the day. But yeah, listen, Donegal is a great team, and I don't believe they're in transition. I really don't believe that. I just think they need a new injection of life, and sometimes a change of management will do that, or a break in play will do that. And I think they're going to get their break now, and they're going to get a change of management, obviously, with Declan Bonner stepping aside. So I think they will be rejuvenated, and I think Donegal will come back next year, and they're still going to be hard to beat, because they've got a really good crop of players, and they've a lot of good players coming through their ranks. So I don't think they're going through transition. I think it's just a little fix here,
Manager,
and they'll be back again, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I suppose kind of your thoughts on after the Donegal game, obviously having to face into the Tottenham Cup. What was your kind of thoughts on it? Because I know obviously some of the lads were kind of vocal about what's the story with the Tottenham Cup, the fixtures and bits and pieces. So what was your kind of thoughts on maybe facing into a competition you just didn't know much about?
Yeah, we didn't know anything about it, to be honest. In terms of, we hadn't planned for it. We were just focusing on the next game, the next championship game, and we only focused on Donegal and nothing else. Just like the way we only focused on Antrim. And I suppose after the Donegal game, I suppose after a day or two, you started to go, well, we're in the Tottenham now. We have to prepare for it. So Mickey was very adamant from the start that we were, whatever would happen, that we would embrace it. And he was right, and we did embrace it. And we trained quite hard. And I suppose the performance that we put in against Donegal probably helped the Tottenham Cup for us, because we probably felt that, our performance that we put in, we knew that there was something special happening this year. We knew there was something growing, and we just had to keep going to the next game. We just needed another game, and that's the way we looked at it. Our next game was down, and that was where it was at. And we parked the Donegal game. We were really happy with our performance, disappointed, as I said, with the defeat, but we used that performance to build for our next game against Down. And I think if we hadn't have put in the performance we did against Donegal, we may not have had that momentum, and may not have been able to put in the performance we did after that in the Tottenham Cup. But I do think that, the Donegal performance helped in preparation. And of course, we would have loved to have been playing for the Sam Maguire. I really think that if we had got another crack, against, staying in the Sam Maguire in the last 16, I do think we might have broke new ground, but it wasn't to be. And listen, Down was where it was at for us after Donegal, and that was our prep. That was where we were at.
And obviously watching on the Donegal game, being at it, in fairness, as Oisin was saying, the coaching just looked unreal. But as you were rightly saying, the stats that go into it, performance, and so I suppose how much preparation. And obviously, I know coaching with intercounty management, it just seems endless. But how much preparation, coaching, mindset goes into, I suppose, that performance that you did put in against Donegal.
Yeah, listen, it's probably, without thinking of just Donegal, you have to look at it as a whole. It's there is a lot of work, and anybody that knows that's in an intercounty setup would know the work. Every county puts in, I'm sure, the same type of work, based, albeit they may have different players to execute the work. But the work that was going in was a lot. It was a lot of late nights, a lot of phone calls, and people don't see that. Like, when we I think I'd speak for every management team in the country. Like, when all the teams go out, we don't set out to play bad. We set out to win.
Yeah, like, are people starting to realise the amount of time that goes into county management now? Because, like, there is a lot of county jobs available right now. Are people really starting to think, okay, this shit, like, this is different gravy here now?
It is like it. People don't understand. Like when we go out and we put in a performance, or sorry, we go out and we play in a championship game, or any county team plays in a championship game. There's no question about it that team is prepared as best as they could. The management team has done the analysis work on the opposition, and that's done over loads of league games and any challenge game. You can get your hands on any videos. Every team does that, and I suppose at the end of the day, it really is about the mindset of the player going out on the day, and how the management team can help, and how the backroom team, that's what it's really about. And it's your application to the game plan. And I think if the mindset's right and you apply yourself to the game plan, I think you will put in the performance. And I suppose what people don't understand is the work that goes into that performance. It's incredible, and it's not just
that's what I'm talking about. That's them, yeah.
It's not just the management team. It's everybody. It's the kit man. It's everybody. Like, we all chip in. Everybody works hard, and we're not saying we're the best there is out there. I don't think anybody is, but we all are willing to work to try to get the players ready to perform, and we all, I suppose, add to that. And listen, some days you go out and you don't perform, and then people would say, gee, have they done anything? And that's the joys of sport. That's it. There's nothing you can do about that. And you're not naive to think otherwise. I do understand that if there's no performance there, people's going to ask questions and stuff, and that's it. But there is a lot of work put in. There's a lot of time, and it eats away at your own time, and it eats away in your mind.
Yeah.
And it's hard. And it's the same with the county board. Like, they're the same. Like, they're as invested into Cavan winning as anybody else, as any player, as anybody in the backroom team. And all they want to do is to see that team perform. And we all know that when you watch whether it's your club team or your county team perform, we all know how that makes us feel as supporters. It makes us feel good. There's an extra step on us, extra inch in our step, when we chat more. People will meet up and talk about the performances. It feel good. So we do understand all that. But listen, I suppose it's very challenging. Been involved with a county senior setup, winning and losing, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. It all affects you. But listen, it's a serious opportunity to be involved in with a serious group of players, and working with a serious group of people in the back room as a team to try to achieve something. It is special. It's good.
Yeah, and I suppose obviously this year you did work with some great men, obviously, and obviously the last couple of years you've worked with great men as well. But this year in particular, you had the likes of Ricey McMenamin, Shawnee Johnson, you had John Denning, you had just so many lads involved. So did you, like, I suppose individually, Shawnee, obviously forwards coach, he could bring a lot to the table.
Yeah, listen, just to go back, and I'll come to Shawnee and Ricey in a minute, but even Dermot McCabe, when I look back,
Dermot, of course,
like, Dermot McCabe is probably the most articulated coach out there. Like, he really, really is. He probably won't get much credit for it, but he's as way ahead of the game as anybody else. The way he looks at the game, like, I learned so much from Dermot. Like, the way he, analyzes teams, really had it. Like, he had a massive burn on Cavan winning that Ulster Championship. He really, really did. The hours of work he put in was phenomenal. He's definitely. I would say that if he would get success in any county he goes to, because of what he brings and his presence. He's an excellent communicator. He's articulated. He knows the game. He's a coach. He's a manager. He probably has everything, to be fair, but he's a guy now that I learned an awful lot from. And then, when you go into this year to get the likes of Ryan McMenamin and Shawnee, and to talk about Ryan McMenamin first, like, we call him Ricey, obviously, but like, when you look at the guy, the player he was, and it's just chalk and cheese to talk to this guy. Like, forget about football context. he's just a special person. He really, really is. He's a good person, and I think him being around the players this year has been fantastic. Like he makes you feel good. Like I worked with him. I was the coach, but he made you feel good about yourself. Like he's so positive, and everybody wants someone like Ryan McManaman in their lives. Like and then just the fact that he was an All-Ireland winner, he's a winner. He was a brilliant footballer, and then he's been a manager before at Intercounty. Like then you bring the football into it. You've just got a serious guy there, and the players embraced him from the start. He isn't like a ruthless type of coach that people might think. He's very laid back in terms of, you know, he listened to the player, he'll ask questions of the player. He's not trying to be a know-it-all. He really is a player's man, and I can only speak really, really highly of that man, of what he's brought. And I know if you talk to any of the players, they'll all reciprocate my words that I've said. And then when you move on to Shawnee there, like, listen, Shawnee was probably one of the best forwards that ever played for Cavan. You know, that speaks for itself. When a man like that walks into the changing room, you're going to listen to him. When a man like that walks into the changing room, you know he's done it at a high level. And again, very like Dermot McCabe, very articulated, you know, knows the game, and very good communicator, and a very good coach. And I have no doubt that if Cavan are to have success down the line, that Shawnee Johnson will definitely be part of that, or will have something to do with that. I have no doubt about that. And I think, to answer your question that you mentioned about Shawnee forwards coach, he was a breath of fresh air. He was such a hard worker. Like Shawnee there, we have an analysis team, but Shawnee would spend hours analysing games, and he puts in an incredible amount of work, a lot of work that people wouldn't see and wouldn't know. But he's not just a coach. He's a very articulated guy who knows football, and you know, Calvin's blessed to have that guy there. And we haven't even touched on Mickey Graham yet.
Yeah.
I've been blessed to been working with really incredible people.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the impact that they've had on me, most of all.
Absolutely, Marion. I suppose you did get the ball rolling in 2019, and obviously getting to the Ulster final in 2019 and playing Division 1 football, and obviously coming up against a very good Donegal team at the time in 2019, Marion. But that was a fairly impressive first year.
Yeah, listen, I suppose like we were hungry as a management team, and like just to speak about Mickey now, like, you know, Mickey, he's probably one of the best managers you can ever work with. Mickey's the type of guy, he lets you know what he wants from the team, why he wants them to play, and then he trusts you to do the job. And as a coach, it's the best manager you can have. The fact that he can just trust you and just let you.
Are you sure you want to leave, Barry?
Even we might come to that at the end, but listen, he's such a good guy. Like, you know, you can't have an argument with Mickey. He's just not that type of person. You really can't. He's so likable, and I know the players like him. They really like him, and you know, he's not a dictator. He's more about let the players empower them. He's more that type of person. But apart from that, he's a very, very smart man when it comes to football. Like he knows what he's at. He's tactically very astute, and you learn a lot from Mickey in relation to that. He doesn't rush into making decisions. He'll take his time. Like you might come to him and might suggest something, but he's not gonna, if he doesn't feel comfortable, he won't give you the answer straight away. He'll think about it, and then he might say, "Let's roll with that, Marty," or "No, Marty, I don't think we'll do that." So Mickey, he's a fantastic manager to be involved with, and I know that, you know, I'm sure people, hopefully Mickey will stay on with Cavan. I'm sure he will. I haven't heard anything, but
I think he will. I think he is going to, yeah.
I'd say he will, but I'm sure whoever comes in, they really will enjoy working with Mickey, because he really does have trust and faith in you, just like the way he's in trust and faith with the players. So
yeah,
he is a breath of fresh air. But I suppose, like, yeah, go back to the question about 2019. You know, as we said, as I mentioned before, our main objective was championship, and we were really lucky. Like Matty McGleenan was in before us.
Yeah.
Aidan McCabe and the lads and Mark and Martin, there was a few of them there, and they got Cavan in Division 1, and we were blessed to get a team and to be playing it at such a high level in our first year. And you know, we have to be thankful for the work that them guys have done before us to get us to that. We got to experience it. We got to play against the Kerrys at home, which was a fantastic experience. We got Dublin at home in Breffni, Kingspan Breffni, which was brilliant again. You know, so we were blessed to have them performances, and we didn't really put in any bad performances in them games. Like we really held our own. We just struggled to get scores. We couldn't get over the 13, 14 point mark, and that was it. And I suppose that was the one thing that probably annoyed us the most, that we probably could have stayed up and we didn't. But listen, that was it. We had to think about the championship. We had a good break, not like this year. We had a break to build for the championship, and you know, we worked an awful lot again. Dermot McCabe to the fore, and Brian McDonald, you know, really to the fore in our analysing teams and making sure that the coaching staff and the players had all the information they needed to go out to play Monaghan and then Antrim and then Down and Donegal, obviously. But yeah, you know, looking back, you know, in that there, our learnings from the league won us the Ulster title, or got us to an Ulster final, that year. I think we missed a lot of chances in the league. We worked extremely hard on it in the championship, and I think our attacking efficiency was quite high in the championship in 2019, and our learnings from the league was taken to the championship, and I think that's why we had, and albeit now we didn't really perform in the final, but I suppose, you know, it was a brilliant experience, an experience that stood to us, an experience that got Cavan on that pathway of this is our plan. We were on our plan. We were living it. We did, although we only got beat by 5 or 6 points in that final. We all know that Donegal were a superior team than us. We missed a lot of goal chances. We're not naive enough to think that should we only won by 5. Donegal were a good bit ahead of us now, to be fair, and we're really, really hungry. And you know, I think that hurt us, that defeat. And then obviously when we went into Tyrone, we didn't play well, and obviously Tyrone went on to get to the All-Ireland final that year. But listen, we didn't play well. But listen, there was plenty of learnings in 2019, and I think we took them learnings in to 2020, which was a good year.
Yeah, 2020 obviously a brilliant year, Marty, and it was the COVID year, and I think from a lot of lads it was their own input and I suppose their own time, their own effort that they were going in doing their sessions by themselves, and they couldn't meet up as a team. And I just think it was a real collective team performance in 2020 to win the Anglo Cup for the first time in 20 odd years, Marty. So much achievement.
Yeah, well, even to talk about that work that was done there that nobody would know, like when I talk, we had talking to Cavan, and like Cavan employed a man called Andre Quinn.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah,
like Andre, like to talk about the guy first before I talk about his work that he does, which we all know is exceptional. Again, a guy that, you know, he's not just a strength and conditioning coach. This guy, you know, he's a serious operator, very knowledgeable guy, really articulated. One of the most articulated guys I've ever met when it comes to sport. Has done a lot for me and has done a lot for Cavan from the point of view of expertise. Yes, he has expertise in strength and conditioning, but he's worked and has been in the environment of really professional coaches, professional managers, professional setups. And I suppose he showed us or gave us advice on what they done. And I suppose we heeded his advice, because when someone like Andre Quinn has come from what he's come from, you gotta listen. And we lapped it up. And I suppose when you look at the work that was done during COVID, Andre was a big part of that. Like the individual programs, the monitoring of the players. Like usually he'd get all the players to Kingspan Breffni. Couldn't do that. You know, the work that he put in was phenomenal. And nobody would ever know, but Andre would have done like hours of work a day. Like we work 8 hours a day or 7, 8. This man would work 18 hours a day for Cavan players alone. And that's not including the hour or 2 he puts in research every day. Like this guy is a phenomenal person to have. Like, I would rate him as probably one of the the top 3 S&C coaches in Ireland. That's how highly I'd rate him. And talking to other people what they do in counties, this guy's the business. And I suppose then talking about his work, like his work is second to none. And that was probably one of the reasons why we did so well in Ulster and won the Ulster title. I'm not saying it was the reason, but I'm saying it was definitely a massive part of the conditioning that we were in. And that was due part and parcel to Andre Quinn, to the work he done. And I know the players are indebted to that man, to the work he's done. He's a ruthless operator. He demands standards, and he's right. And I back him on that 100%. And all I can do is, I haven't really got round to ringing him yet, but I'm sure he might listen to this podcast. But all I know is that he did a lot for me, and I know what he done for the players. And I know, speaking on behalf of the players, they're so grateful for him. And Cavan need to keep him. That's the biggest challenge, is keeping this man. And
kind of like Peter Donnelly to a degree, Marty. We need to keep him.
Yeah, and you'll always struggle to keep a guy like Peter Donnelly. Like Peter Donnelly, was always going to go back to Tyrone eventually.
Yeah.
And it was going to be hard for Cavan to keep him, to be fair. But someone like Andre Quinn now, he's after having like him and Sarah had a baby boy there. So, hopefully he'll stay around Cavan to be hoping for a wee while and let the wee guy grow up there.
Build a house for him, whatever you need, Andre. If you have it.
He needs, keep him on side and work with him, and he's a terrific family there. And I hope, for Cavan's sake, that he does stay, because he does offer so much. But again, back to 2020, the work that man has done again was quite evident in our performances, and was a big part of us winning. And I suppose the 2020, it was a really funny scenario the year. We were really disappointed to an extent at the end of 2020 because we got relegated. Like, we lost our first game to Armagh, and we were really disappointed with that game. And then we won 3 in the trot. And then we were disappointed we lost to Clare, and then COVID came. And we would have felt we were coming, and, we suffered in COVID. We actually, a lot of our players didn't really get COVID during the whole lockdown phase.
Yeah.
When people started to come back, that's when we got stung, and we were missing players against Kildare and Roscommon. And, listen, we didn't put in performances, and the 2 teams beat us, and rightly so. They were the better teams in the day, and we were left at that. We got relegated, and, 2 relegations in a row was a kick in the teeth. But the learnings we took from it went into the championship again, and I suppose that's where it was at for us. We had to get over the Roscommon defeat in Cavan, and we had to focus. We only had a week, I think it was, if I'm right. I think it was a week to play in Monaghan, in Clonus.
Yes.
And, we had a lot of work done on Monaghan the previous year, and obviously I'm from Monaghan myself. I would know a lot of the players and different things, but we didn't play well in that game. And the first half, Monaghan should have been out of sight. And I suppose we had a good conversation at halftime with the players, and we decided what we wanted to do, and we stuck to it. And, people talk about management teams and coaches taking praise for performances, but on that day, it was the individual brilliance of players that got Cavan over the line. And, we all can remember Thomas Callaghan's catch, and, we can remember Raymond Gallagher's free, them individual brilliant plays of a player that people tend to put it on to the managers and coaches. Gee, they're well coached. That was just quality. And, the players were solely behind, that performance, like the Oisin Pearson goal, start, individual brilliance of players. Cormac Riley been able to hand pass that ball to Oisin.
Yeah.
I look back in that game, and that's something that really sticks out. Jerry Smith's outside of the boot point, and Luke Fortune, I think, kicked 3 points from outside the 45 that day, and me and Luke would often have a bit of banter about his shooting, but gee, that day them players stood up when we were under pressure, and that was the reason we won Ulster, was because of that performance of the players, the individual brilliance.
Clock is absolutely running on us, Marty. I'd love to ask you more, but yeah, the 2020, the Ulster final win, obviously no fans at it in Armagh. I think the whole of Cavan was probably watching on the TVs, wherever they could watch it, Marty. I was nearly in tears myself. What a feeling.
Yeah, listen, it was brilliant, but it was just knowing the work that the players put in, it would have been brilliant to have the supporters there for them to see that.
Yeah.
That is the only thing, not that I can regret, because you can't regret, you have no control over it, but it was the one thing that them players deserved. Like, these players for Cavan have been towing the line now for years with under 21s. They've won 4 Ulster titles. There's been a lot of great work done there. They brought it to the seniors. There's men there that would have coached them guys. A lot of people involved with them guys who didn't get to see them guys reach that there. And they deserve to see that, you know, them coaches. The Cavan people deserve to see that. And we wanted to get to the Ulster final this year, and we wanted to win that for that, you know, one of them reasons. But it was disappointing that them men who put a lot of work into the work that was done, you know, development squads under 21, so be it, you know, they didn't get to see that, because it was very much their championship as it was the Cavan management and the Cavan players. Everybody contributes to this. The county board do, the clubs do, the club coaches and the clubs. Everybody contributes to a title. It's not just down to the men that's over it. It's everybody. It's a collective, and that's the thing that really would be so disappointing, that them boys didn't get that, you know, and they didn't even get a dinner, you know, because of COVID. They didn't even get to celebrate it, and I'm sure there's plans in place to do that. I think there is, but you know, that would be it, and them players deserve that, and the performance that they put in that night, the work that they done, like, you know, on that night, it just deserved supporters, you know. Really. And listen, we're blessed that we could play. There's so many people who aren't with us now, who are Cavan people, that didn't get to see that performance. But we have to count ourselves lucky that we did witness it, whether it be I was there, I'm blessed to be there, but also the people who are at home. We have to count ourselves lucky that we saw that performance and we lived to tell it, because it was strange times. And it's the one thing that would, you know, I would always say, you know, going over there, COVID hit everybody. It hit everybody all over the world, and them Cavan players didn't lay down. Like, they give people something to cheer about. And yes, there was relegation, there was disappointment that year, but you know, it showed the character and the steel that's in Cavan. You know, them guys, them players, to deliver that performance, it lifted everybody, not just in Cavan, but all over Ulster and Ireland. And it was just such a brilliant to be involved with them group, brilliant to be involved in the management team and with the players and the support staff. It was brilliant. And even for the county board themselves, for Kieran and Susan and Mark, you see them all there, and you know, the work that they put in, the county board is phenomenal. So it was brilliant for them.
Absolutely, Marty. And I suppose looking back on the 4 years, you obviously did do with Cavan. What would be a few of the highlights?
Oh,
Tim, a few.
Listen, a lot of the championship games were brilliant. Like, you know, when, you know, battles is what we talk about in sport. You know, when performances, we chase the performance. And you know, you look at Monaghan in 2019, Cavan playing them. I didn't enjoy the game, but that was a serious highlight. You know, playing Armagh in the replay, you know, was a massive. They're all massive days, performances, and there's loads of league games that were great to be involved in, and you know, I was just proud to be involved. The Down game this year, you know, there was a bite about it. You know, we wanted to win it. You know, gee, you have to say the Ulster final was the best, you know, but it's hard to know. Like, you know, I solely look at the, you know, battles in the game, and you know, you look at the gunner, like the hits he puts in games, and the scores that Garage McKernan gets, and Raymond Gallaghan's freezing the ground, and you know, Porrick Faulkner maybe getting in front of a man. Like, them small battles, like to me, they're the things that gives me energy, and they're the things that leads to performances, to wins as such. And there was loads of that. There was loads of good quality plays that you're just going, oh yeah. And I suppose it would be nice for one day to get all them into one performance and win. It would be lovely, but yeah, listen, I couldn't just say one. Just loads of individual displays and battles is probably where it's at with me. That's what I like.
Absolutely, Marty. I suppose loads more could have asked you, but the clock is definitely against us. And I suppose what would be the future for yourself now in the next couple of years?
I don't know. Like, I just take one every day as it comes. Like, I suppose we'll see how it goes. And enjoy my time off now. And who knows, I could be on the sideline somewhere, or I could be taking a year out. But listen, I'll always be involved with my club anyway, because they were coaching juvenile, so I'll always be at that. And I'll see where I go after this. But listen, just I'd like to thank Cavan and Cavan people for the good days, and maybe
man, thanking the Cavan people. That's unforeseen.
Yeah. All I can say is that every time I went into Cavan and I drove into the Kingspan Breffni, I was always felt welcome by everybody, the county board, the people who worked on the ground there. It was phenomenal, and never felt like I wasn't wanted or anything like that there. And that's a compliment to the Cavan people and to the people involved in the Cavan setups, and so be it. But I'd like to thank the management team and the players and anybody who went through the Cavan management team. Obviously, we had goalkeeping coaches and Darren McCarthy and lads and Enda Brennan, different boys in. So it's great to be involved with everybody, and I really appreciate the work and the experience and the opportunity of working with them.
And obviously, Cavan Senior Championship back this weekend. Would you get to any of the games, do you reckon?
I'll definitely get to the final anyway, because I always find the Cavan finals over the last few years very, very good. Like, there's a serious standard when it gets to the Bumblebee hits the
nitty-bitty.
Yeah, there is a serious standard. So I definitely will be going to the final, definitely. And I'll keep in touch, with the players. What's it like? You do develop a bond, and you do like watching the players playing, and I definitely will go over if I've got free Sunday and definitely go over and watch, no problem at all. Like, but that's me there.
Absolutely. Marty Corey, thanks a million for joining me this week. And of course, the podcast is brought to you by orgarech.com and Atak.ie. Use your promo code JMac podcast to get 15% off on orgarech.com and get the best game schools equipment on Atak.ie. Be attack minded. Marty Corey, I'd like to thank you very, very much from all involved in Cavan for your unbelievable work with the Cavan setup the last couple of years. Callaghan, obviously very thankful for you as well. And it was great to get chatting to you, my man. Absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks, John.
Cheers, sir.